to make this vlog, or I didn't really know whether to make it a vlog or technically one of the like Throwback Thursday slash remembering forgotten memories videos, even though it's definitely not forgotten by any means, which is why I was hesitant to label it that, because obviously not forgotten by any means. But I don't know, I just was really down all day yesterday over it. Honestly, have been today too. It's why I never got around to recording like I normally would, even though I kept knowing I need to kick myself in the butt and just do it and get on with things and live life. But maybe it's because it's a milestone year. I don't know, but yesterday was the 15th anniversary of losing my grandpa. For clarification, not the one who lived and died in this house. No, not him. That was just a few years ago. No, my other one, my maternal grandpa. That was in 2003. So that is... It's weird, because in some ways it feels like it just happened still. In other ways, it feels a lifetime ago. I was only 18, I think, when that happened. I'm 33 now, so that seems both completely bonkers to me that I was a teenager then. I'm in my 30s. How does that even add up? But no, I guess it does, but wow, okay. But just not gonna lie, it still hurts almost just as much today as it did back when it happened. And I'm pretty sure that's one of those things that if in 15 years it hasn't really gone away, I don't think it's going to. And certain years hit me harder than others, but this year, I'm guessing it's because it's a milestone one, for sure. But yeah, pretty much kicking my butt, missing him like crazy. A lot of things make me miss him like crazy, just in general anyway. With all my grandparents, because all my grandparents are gone now. There's things, almost not a day goes by that something doesn't remind me of at least one of them. Oh my gosh, it still hits me like a ton of bricks remembering that day. I mean, he had lung cancer because he worked on the docks in Oakland, and they worked around asbestos, and they made everyone who worked there sign waivers that if they got lung cancer, they wouldn't sue, which I'm pretty sure you can't legally do that, but they did it and got away with it anyway. And not only did it get my grandpa, it got my Nana too, because she had to handle his work clothes and wash them, so therefore she was also breathing in the same asbestos. It just seems so senseless and so pointless on something that could have been avoided. I'm pretty sure it was already stage 4 for him by the time they found it. I'm sorry, this piece of hair is making me nuts. But, he tried to fight it. He went through chemo. I think he went through radiation too. It was inoperable, so they couldn't do that on him. He tried seeking out, like, a natural practitioner, to try that route, and was basically on, like, essentially an all-vegan diet, no sugars, no carbs, no this, that, or the other. It was insane. There was very little he was allowed to have, and it didn't end up curing him. Not one bit. The only thing it seemed to do was his hair grew back in, and it was a fuller head of hair than he'd had in many years. So, I mean, may not have cured his cancer, but it is proof, diet-wise, that, yeah, it does make a difference, but, it's even more painful when realizing that, if Kaiser hadn't have screwed up the way they did, maybe he'd still be here, because back in, like, 1998, I forget what he had it done for. I forget, maybe he had pneumonia or something. Something where they had to do a chest x-ray on him. And apparently, in his medical files, they had even noted that there was suspicious masses in his lungs and follow up on that. They never bothered telling him this, and they also never followed up on it. And it wasn't until years down the line, when we already knew he had cancer, that my aunt was actually looking at his medical chart and records and found this in there. Great. I mean, by that point, what can you do? What can you friggin' do? But at that point, it probably still would have had at least half a fighting chance of being able to do something about it. And if he had known at that point, because it was mesothelioma, if he had known at that point, maybe my Nana could have been tested, and maybe she'd still be here too. It's just, that is the part that bothers me the most over it, is knowing damn well that if they had just done their damn jobs like they were supposed to, and actually, caught it back when they first spotted something, he might actually still be here. I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to cry, but damn it, it upsets the hell out of me. Neither one of them should have been gone that young. I mean, at this point, they'd be getting up there in years, but they were only in their 60s. They shouldn't have gone that young. Not over something like that. And to see him suffer the way he did, it just wasn't right. I mean, they both did, but he was really, really, really sick. I think I should have really known the last week or so that he was getting near the end. I think on some level he knew. I mean, he knew he was terminal. He knew that there was no coming back from this, even though he loved going around saying that no, he was gonna kick this cancer's ass, but I'm pretty sure he knew. Even though he was trying to buy into the whole natural practitioner thing as much as he could, he was like this close to buying a home sauna, thinking he could somehow kill it that way, which I don't think honestly would do shit, in all honesty, but he was kind of buying a hook, line, and sinker, but he didn't even get that far. But I think not the last time I saw him, but the last time he was still up and mobile was shortly before that last week. I think it was his second to last week, and he had taken me CD and record store shopping, since I still pretty much went every week to Rasputin's at that point, pretty much to just dig through the vinyls back before vinyls were a trendy thing again. I could pick them up for literally a quarter, so I would come home with armfuls of them at a time, but I always needed rides to and from. But oh gosh, what brought it up? On the way home, I forget if it was a drag queen or what it was. Maybe it was somebody with a gay pride flag. I forget what it was. I don't even remember what my comment was. It wasn't anything derogatory, but I think I was testing the waters just to see what he'd say, just by pointing it out, kind of fishing for some sort of a response here. And I feel like the almost verbatim what he had said was, as long as they're not trying to hit on me, I don't give a fuck about gay people. They're fine. They're not hurting anything. And that, to me, just hearing that come from him, which I had always assumed that he was very homophobic on that front, but apparently not as much as I thought he was, because if he was saying that, I don't know if maybe he knew me better than I knew me at that point in time. I don't know if just I was that obvious. I don't know, but I was still trying to figure myself out at that age. But I think that was his way of saying, whatever it is, you choose to live your life. But you just do you, basically, was the gist of it. That meant a lot to me, and that was the last outing I ever got with him. I did see him one more time at his house after that, and I have a lot of regrets about that time, even though he would not want me to feel that way. But he was really sick. I think by that point it had spread enough to where he couldn't even eat that well and keep things down. And TMI, this is gonna be totally gross. I am so sorry, but like, while we were eating dinner at the table at night, because he had this problem with it, all of a sudden it came back up in his plate, and you guys know me, I have severe phobia of throwing up, and I freaked out and I like ran downstairs, and I pretty much would not come back up until it was time to go home, because I wasn't sure if it was from that or if he had like a stomach flu, and I just was that freaked about not wanting to catch it. And it wasn't a stomach flu, it was the fucking cancer. But I still kick myself that I didn't like stop by the couch or anything, like go give him a last kiss or anything. I didn't know it was the last time I was gonna see him in his house, but it still hurts. I didn't know. I'm not even sure if I said bye to him that night. And that, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he'd hold that against me. He wouldn't want me to still be beating myself up for it this many years later. But that bothers me so much that I think not one of my I don't think I properly got to say goodbye to any of them. But that one bothers me almost the most. Almost, not quite the most, but one of the most. And he was the first of the grandparents for me to go, so I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm gonna leave this in or edit it out, I don't know, but I'm sorry for being a big bummer, but I forget if it was like the next day. That was on a Monday. I feel like on Wednesday, it's either Tuesday or Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday that week, he collapsed and they called 911 for him. He wasn't dead at that point, although the paramedics asked my Nana, so how long has he had heart failure? Nobody had even known that that was a thing either. But I got him to the hospital, and on that Sunday he passed. And I never got until that last final day. I mean, it looked like he was starting to do better. It looked like he was gonna get to go home. I mean, ultimately we knew probably wasn't far off, but we figured he was at least gonna get to go home to pass. He was looking forward to watching the Super Bowl at home that year. He always looked forward to that. It was like the weekend before it, if I remember right. It was really close to it. But yeah, he didn't get that far. He didn't even get home. The worst part, they were getting ready to let him go home that day. And all of a sudden, he just tanked like a rock. And I don't even know who it was that called us at home and said, you need to get here now. But we hauled ass and dropped everything. I mean, I had my cat at my house, which had been living at my other grandparents' house that lived 2 houses down from us, because my dad wouldn't let me keep the cat at home. But I mean, it was still my cat, just lived at my grandma's house. But I remember we hauled ass so much that I just put him in the carrier and had him in the car. while we went to the hospital. We didn't even stop to drop him off still at my grandma's house first. We just hauled ass to get there, and by the time we got there, he basically wasn't responsive. He wasn't speaking anymore. He could communicate by blinking, and I think he was able to like lift one arm. And that was all he could do at that point, that fast. And they thought he was going to be able to go home that day just a few hours earlier. And they had us all go, all of us were there, all of my grandpa's kids were there, and all of the grandkids were there. And they had us each go in, I forget how many at a time, to go say goodbye to him and to let him know we were there. And I couldn't make words happen. I couldn't even let him know I was there. I still hold that against myself to this day too, which again, I know that most likely he knew I was there, but I was so freaked out I couldn't even talk. It was like a deer in the headlights. I didn't know what to do with this. I did not know what to do or what to say or anything. I could have even just like gone down like an I love you or anything. That would have been something. Even if it had just been something as minor as I'm here, that would have been something. I couldn't make any words come out. And I can't let go of that. And there was a couple times they let us come back because there was only supposed to be so many people in the room at a time. And they let us go back a couple more times before he was gone. I still couldn't make myself talk. And then around noon he was gone. And I remember they let us, or I don't think they let all the grandkids go in there, but I was an adult, so they let me walk in there. I still couldn't say anything even then, even though it would have been too late by that point, so wouldn't have even mattered, but this many years later, it still screws with me so bad. I mean, even at like the memorial service, even at the funeral, it was like an open casket thing. I couldn't even bring myself to even just talk to the body. I couldn't do it. I made the mistake though of touching his cheek when he was in the box, and it was just like, oh my god, he feels like a statue. He doesn't even feel like a person. And then I made the same mistake with my Nana. I did the same exact thing, and I freaked myself out just as bad. With my other set of grandparents, I almost did with my grandmas. I remember, no, don't do it. You don't want that to be the very, very last memory. You don't want that, so I didn't. And with my other grandpa, I was too freaked out by just the reality that we thought was gonna outlive us all is actually I couldn't even like my feet just like locked. I couldn't even walk up near it until almost after the fact. My boyfriend actually like pretty much dragged me up almost, because I think he knew I would have regretted it if I hadn't. But that was the other one. This was the first one, and I didn't know what to do with this. And I felt like the shittiest grandchild since everyone else was able to talk to him both when he was still here and when he was in the box, and I could not bring myself to do it. And they even asked if we could, like, write him a last letter to put in the box with him. I couldn't even do that. I couldn't do it for my dad. I don't think I did it for any of my grandparents. I should have. I mean, I know that realistically that they are gone and wouldn't be able to read my way, but it's the sentiment, it's the thought that it just hurts like hell years later. And then I think it was not the day he died, but the next day we were at my Nana's house because we didn't want her to be alone after that. So we were kind of just hanging out there, but I was in the days still hadn't like fully registered even, so I was just like sitting on the top stair to like the basement, and none of the lights were on in the basement. Which, warning sign number one, something's wrong with me. I can be near the dark and I'm not freaked out, because that does not happen. But he had a bar in his basement, like he had a license to run it and everything, but I swear I'm not making this up. I fully believe I saw an actual apparition of him down there behind the bar that day for like a split second of him in an all-white suit and mixing drinks behind the bar, which, I mean, minus the white suit part, that was a scene I'd seen hundreds of times during like his parties and things he would throw there. I mean, and just, again, it was pitch black in there. So to see something like that bright, I jumped the fuck back all the way across the kitchen. I jumped so far. And I forget if it was my Nana or somebody, she was like, what? And like, again, I couldn't even talk for a while. And when I finally did, and I told her what I saw, I'm not even sure if anyone believed me at that point. And apparently, on 2 separate occasions, not that day, way further down the line, both my brother and one of my cousins saw the same exact apparition downstairs behind the bar too. So I 100% believe. I don't care if you don't believe in them. I do, because I know what I saw. And apparently they also saw, so, and they didn't know that I'd seen it first, so, just saying. So, that, I mean, on some level, I don't know if that was my brain seeing what it wanted to see and creating this. I don't know if it was legit there, but I choose to believe it was legit there, and that it's a sign that there's something else beyond this world. I don't know for certain what it is. I mean, I know I'm a Catholic, but I mean, there's always a doubt of, well, I mean, what if it's something else, though? I mean, you know, it's one of those things, but I've had too many weird instances like that to not believe in something else beyond this, but, I mean, that is, I'm eventually gonna do a video of all of my weird paranormal experiences I've had, but that one, there was no mistaking that one. Other ones could be misconstrued as, oh, you're just reading that situation as what you want to read into it. That was coincidental. There's no way that one was freaking coincidental, man. Because that one, I legit saw that. I'm sure there'll be somebody in the comments that'll try and debunk it and be like, no, you were just grieving that hard and your brain probably just hallucinated that, but I don't care. I choose to believe what I saw because I know what I saw. And God, I still miss him. I miss all of them. I mean, I'm grateful I had them as long as I did. Even some people never even got to know their grandparents, and my heart breaks for them because I was blessed with 4 really awesome ones. I mean, I know people who, I mean, they did know theirs and they didn't have a great relationship with them, or like they were jerks or something. I mean, mine were all really awesome, and I guess I had them for a long time comparatively to how long some people have theirs, but how many of that makes it hurt more since I had them for longer to be more attached to. But, it just still hurts. I imagine it's always gonna hurt. I mean, with this grandpa, I definitely have him to thank for my love of classic films. He pretty much brought me up on those from a super, super young age. I mean, I was a literal toddler when he started me on those. I mean, he was a huge Gene Kelly fan. I mean, he was also a tap dancer professionally and everything. It's actually kind of funny that I've made this mental comparison with my 2 grandpas to Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire, because even kind of like both demeanor-wise and almost a little bit appearance-wise, somewhat. I mean, not clones or anything, but I mean, there's some similarities. I see them anyway. The grandpa that was more into Gene did kind of sort of resemble him in some ways, and my other one resembled Fred Astaire. That one was a little more clear-cut in the comparisons, visually, whereas with the other one it was more demeanor and also dancing style. I mean, dancing style was, he was heavily influenced by him, so that played a lot into it too, but yeah, he pretty much raised me on Singing in the Rain. That was his favorite movie of all time. Oh god, when Gene Kelly died, he literally wouldn't get out of bed for a week. He just watched that movie on repeat. But he adored Gene, and when I latched on to Wizard of Oz at like 3-ish years old, somewhere around there, and was like super hardcore obsessed with it, he tried to introduce me to more of Judy Garland's early films from around that same time era. Like a little before, a little after, like right in there. Mind you, I was too young to really make the mental connection that this little girl in these movies is the same person as Dorothy. Like, this is totally not the same person. That didn't come till later, but he laid the foundation work, and he showed me a bunch of Gene stuff really young, which a lot of that, I mean, I was awfully young, but then growing up, like, just getting more into his films just on my own, watching them again and realizing, I'm having such deja vu. I am almost positive I've seen this one before. And the more I think about it, it's like, yeah, I specifically remember watching this one at whenever age, and all of them were with him, obviously, but definitely had him to thank for that. Had him largely to thank for my love of Frank Sinatra and just that era of music. He would give me hell for my Beatles stuff, although Ringo's album, Sentimental Journey, that one, he did notoriously say, yeah, this is the only Beatle music I ever heard that's actual real music, and yeah, that was him. That was him. But, it is a pretty good melding of the two worlds, though, to be fair, but, it did pretty much spark an early appreciation for that era, too. So, I mean, those are, like, my 2 go-to genres. That's no secret. You guys already know that, but just so many things still remind me of him. Even stuff as, like, silly as, like, someone doing a really bad Italian accent and, like, trying to, like, sound like they're speaking Italian even though they're totally just speaking gibberish. Yeah, that reminds me of him. He had no shame in doing it either. And it was hilarious. But yeah, hearing anyone do that now, it doesn't take much, and I'm pretty much in tears because I miss him so much. But there's a lot of things that make me miss him. But, There's a lot of things that make me miss all four of them. To be fair, it's not just him. I miss all of them pretty much equally. It's just weird that he and my Nana went first, and they were the younger grandparents by a huge leap. Like, my grandparents on my dad's side are about the same age as my great grandparents on my mom's side. So, just a biological deduction, I always assumed it would be my dad's parents that were gonna go first just by age. Nope. If I had known that, I probably would have made more of an effort to spend more time with my mom's parents consistently, knowing that there was less years I was gonna get with them, but there's no way to know that. There's absolutely no way to know that. Although, to be fair, I wouldn't have traded it for the world to have all the time I did with my other grandparents either, so I did spend a lot of time with my mom's parents too. I mean, we were over there at bare minimum at least once a week, every Monday. And if there was a holiday, we were there for that. Anybody's birthday, we were there for that. Sometimes on a Sunday, just for the hell of it, we're over there for that. There's a lot. So, I was really, really blessed to be as close as I was with both sets of grandparents. And even one set of great-grandparents, I was lucky enough to have them too for quite a while. Actually, my grandpa went before the great-grandparents. Actually, both grandparents on that side went before they did. But to be fair, they were my Nana's parents, and they went a few months after she did. All from the same disease. My great-grandma had Alzheimer's, and I think died of complications from that, but she was in her 90s. My great-grandpa was also in his 90s, but he very notoriously did not believe in doctors at all. At all. Don't think he'd been to one in his adult life ever, and somehow made it to, like, I want to say 94 or somewhere right thereabouts. Just saying. He had this strong belief that all doctors do is find shit wrong with you, so I just won't go to them. They can't find shit wrong with you. It's like, there is a flaw in your logic in that just because you don't go to one doesn't stop problems from happening. But okay. No one could persuade him otherwise. And eventually, yeah, C-word hit him too. Although in his case, God, I think his was metastasized. I don't think any of us knew where it originally stemmed from. Since, he did not believe in doctors, so by the time he was finally seen by one, I think he had like 3 different types of cancer by that point. So, I know he had, at the very bare minimum, he had liver cancer. I want to say it was also in his lungs, and I, for the life of me, can't remember what number 3 was. It might have been stomach. I don't remember for sure what the third one was, or if there was a third, but there was definitely at least 2 going on for sure. But I feel like there was a third, but that that whole year is a literal blur in my memory, because 2005 was probably hands down one of the worst years of my entire life. So, lost my Nana and both great-grandparents all within a span of, let's see, my Nana died in April. So, May, June, July. So, in a span of 4 months, lost 3. I lost 3. At least the year that I lost my grandpa was just him. With my other set of grandparents, they were pretty close together too, but there was 5 months in between them. But I don't like it when they go close together. It just, yeah, I'm still kind of dealing with unresolved emotions on the latter set of grandparents that were more recent, but that's another story for another day. But 15 years, though. It just doesn't seem possible, but it is. And you know what almost kills me most? More than anything? Kimmy doesn't remember him. Like, at all. That hurts. That hurts. She barely remembers my Nana, either. But, she was... Oh, gosh. About 4 when he passed. So she was really, really little. Made her about not quite 6 yet when my Nana went. Oh, and there was the other thing that just was the icing on the cake. The date that my grandpa told us that he had cancer on and everything. 1 year to the day of that, my Nana made the same announcement about herself. 1 year to the day exactly. I don't know if she did that on purpose. I don't know if it was coincidental. We're never gonna know for sure. She's not around to ask, but 1 year to the day. And then a year to the day later than that, she was gone already by a month. Just saying. That fast. Boom, boom. Just both gone. But yeah, Kimmy does not remember a thing about my grandpa. And that hurts. I mean, what hurts even more than that is how she is questioned so many times. Would he have even liked me? Would I have gotten along with him? Because from the stories I've heard people tell about him, I mean, he sounds like he was way sexist and racist and homophobic. It's like, no, you have this so many levels of wrong you don't even know. But there's no convincing her of that, and it breaks my heart that whatever image she has painted in her head of what she thinks he was like is so far off base. And there's no way for her to know other than by us trying to tell her, but without her believing, I mean, what does it do? I mean, it just hurts. Even with my Nana, she barely remembers her. And that hurts too. She was one of the sweetest ladies in the world. Both my grandmas were. And it just sucks that she was so little, but she just can't remember. I mean, I get that. The first of my cousins was like 2 years younger than me. And he died of SIDS. He was a literal baby. I mean, he was only a few months old. I was 2 when he died. I do not at all remember him. I mean, I've seen pictures of him. I've heard tell of what he was like, but I mean, that's not the same as remembering him. But it clearly left an impact because I have been told repeatedly by multiple relatives that that was quite possibly what sparked off my depression and anxiety. That was when I went into a shell. Like, apparently I had been almost completely a different kid until that happened, and apparently I must have been pretty traumatized by it, but yeah, so I mean, can only imagine if that affected me at 2 years old like that, how much that many losses, boom, 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 like back to back to back to back, with a kid as little as that, I mean, who is old enough to kind of comprehend what all was going on by that age. I mean, we know she went into a dark phase because we got a hold of some of her notebooks from around then, and yeah, between some very dark drawings and some very dark things she wrote in there, it's kind of amazing she didn't grow up to, like, become a serial killer or something, but, yeah, that, no, instead she go be a psychologist, but go figure, maybe that's why, I don't know, but, yeah, anyway, But yeah, this is why I've been just kind of absent off YouTube the past couple of days. Just, I've been very easily weepy and just missing a lot of people over the past couple of days. And I'll be okay. I mean, don't worry that, like, it's, like, dangerous depression territory. No. It's nothing like that. It's just me being very sentimental and emotional and missing people real badly. That, yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot I can do. Just cry and just let it out. I mean, what else am I gonna do? Bottling it up does not help. As I saw with the second of my grandpas, I really didn't much cry other than, like, at his memorial, I think. Other than that, I had bottled it up for a couple of years before I finally just bawled. And I still, to this day, just get random streaks out of freaking nowhere, seemingly nothing even having set me off, where I'm just inconsolable, sobbing, and missing him. I don't know where that just came from, but wow, okay, so that's what I mean by, definitely a lot of unresolved emotions and things to sort through there that I haven't 100% dealt with yet. I know I haven't with my grandma on that side yet 100% either, although I cried quite a bit over her, but there's still a lot of unresolved feelings and stuff there. But I mean, clearly, apparently there is for both sets of grandparents, as it turns out, but I don't know, it just, the unfairness of it, I think, bothers me almost the most. Just knowing that it probably could have been avoidable if somebody had not dropped the ball. And I know that it's not just this one situation. I am far from the only person on Earth who has a story like this. Unfortunately, everybody's got at least one story like this, usually, it seems like. And it really sucks. And I wish it weren't that way, but them's the breaks. So, I'm sorry if I bummed you guys all out. But, and it is what it is. It's not the first time a lot of you guys will see me cry on camera, so at this point I figured, you know, there's kinda no point even trying to edit it out anymore, because what you see is what you get when it comes to me, so I'm an open book. Sometimes there's tears and snot and ugly crying, and sometimes there's not, but, yeah, I don't blame you if you either skipped through this video or just bailed on it. I don't blame you, although if you did, you obviously aren't watching this part, but, if you did stick around, I'm sorry that I sat you through nearly an hour of myself crying and just being emotional, but again, this is not a new thing for me. It's just, from time to time, I gotta let it out, and sometimes that happens to be on camera, sometimes not, but this time it was, so I didn't go into this planning on crying, just for the record. This isn't one of those kind of videos. These are 100% genuine tears, which probably obvious by the ugly crying and runny, snotty nose, but yeah, anyway, so can't imagine that anyone would have liked this video, but if you did, the button's there. If you're not already and you'd like to be, you know, if I haven't scared you off, make sure you hit the subscribe button. God, I feel like a shitheel even asking for this right now. Make sure you hit the notification bell. I promise I'm not like this all the time. This is a one-off. Leave comments down below. It can be anything, really. Make sure you're following my social media accounts, and if you like what I do on this channel and you'd like to help support, the donation link's down below. I'm sorry, I'm such a train wreck. I'll try to get my shit together by the next video, okay? Bye.